First, giving honor to God, creator of all things and the head of my life. I am so glad that I am here today with you, and so glad that I know the Lord for myself and that I have a personal relationship with him. I've been campaigning for the past, about 4 months now, and for the position of the president of the Ward 8 Democrats, and trust me, it has not been a cake walk. But I thank the Lord for wrapping his precious arms around me and my family and continuing to give me strength, continuing to guide my thoughts, my words, and my actions during this time. In this field of politics, I've come face to face with many leaders in my life. I am just so thankful that for the time that I've had with each of these individuals. All of them have taught me a lot about people. They've taught me a lot about politics, and certainly they've taught me a lot about public service. Most recently, I made a decision, though, to move into Washington, D.C. so that all the work that I do on behalf of the District of Columbia could be supported by my vote. Okay, it was not a hard decision for me to move actually here to Ward 8. Ward 8 has always been considered my second home. The many hours that I've spent traveling along the avenues and through the neighborhoods and just talking to people, it has afforded me the opportunity to get a keen insight into their needs, their dreams, and their aspirations. Now, let me just say this, you don't have to be born and raised in Ward 8. There are Ward 8s all across this country to understand the plight of the people. We have in this ward the highest level of poverty, the highest level of unemployment, the lowest test scores for our children, the most people dependent on both federal and city services just to make it from day to day. So don't get me wrong, there are many success stories here in our ward, and certainly we want to focus and highlight that. But collectively speaking, there's still a whole lot of work that we need to do, amen? I've listened to the young, I've listened to the old, I've listened to the employed, I've listened to the unemployed, the educated, the uneducated, and those who are struggling through many of life's challenges. And it has become very evident to me that what is missing is a local, political, organized effort at addressing those concerns raised by the residents. How many people gathered here have even heard of the Ward 8 Democrats? And of those people, how many of you have actually participated with the Ward 8 Democrats organization? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to laugh so that I don't cry at this moment. There are more than 50,000 registered voters here in Ward 8, yet our meetings are represented by the same 20 to 30 people. We've got to do a better job at that. Just so you know, the Ward 8 Democrats is the top political organization in Ward 8 that feeds out of the D.C. Democratic State Committee, which feeds out of the Democratic National Committee, which is home to President Barack Obama. The main purpose of the Ward 8 Democrats is to identify and engage with Democrats who live in our ward, to engage with them so that they may become participatory in addressing issues on a political level that have an effect on our residents, and also so that Democrats can be a driving force in local and national elections. Don't think it's important for you to know this or become involved? Keep watching the developments over at the White House. Keep watching the developments down at City Hall. And let's chat again about this just 1 year from now. You'll understand the importance of being a part of the Ward 8 Democrats. You don't even really need to go that far. Keep watching your neighborhoods. Keep watching your block that you live on. There are folks moving in and out of Ward 8 every day, members of the Democratic, Republican, and independent parties, and we have no idea who they are, what they stand for, what their agendas are. With all this new glitzy development that's going on around in Ward 8, which I'm very happy about, don't be surprised if one day you look up and to your left and to your right lives a Republican, right? So, no offense to Republicans. Any Republicans here? I'm just saying, okay? About 2 weeks ago, I received an email from a Ward 8 resident who is, quote, affected by the behavior of the Democratic Party in the ward. The writer was responding to the quality of my campaign literature and the vision put forth within, and was expressing a concern for the ineffectiveness of the Ward 8 Democrats, in large because they live here. What was comforting to me was that the writer took time to communicate, yes, to analyze my campaign, yes, and offered a bit of advice for moving forward. It says in part, if there are mistakes, let there be mistakes. It's time for some new mistakes. Learn from them and move on. What stopped me in my tracks was the writer's opening statement. Get ready. I am a Republican. So I'll let you draw your own conclusions to this. However, for me, the writing as a whole brought tears to my eyes, not only because of the recognition of all the work that has gone into this campaign, but mostly because it's a reminder of how our behavior, right? Our behavior of the Ward 8 Democrats affects all of our neighbors, Democrats, Republicans, and independents alike. I am convinced that if the Ward 8 Democrats were an organization comprised of a viable and respected political operation, that many of the problems confronting the people, be it Democrats, Republicans, or independents, would be addressed, and the efforts of our council member, irregardless of who it may be, from the ward would be shouldered by many rather than a few. When our council member was trying to create an economic engine for the ward through the redistricting process, where was the ward's political organization in support of this effort? When it became time for the new administration to name persons to the mayor's cabinet, where was the ward's political organization to ensure that Ward 8 was represented in the decision-making process and securing a seat at the table? When the threat of the impasse arose on the Capitol Hill in reference to the debt debate, where was the Ward 8 Democrat statement regarding the potential impact on the people of the ward, who are the most vulnerable and most affected by such decisions? It is my vision for the Ward 8 Democrats that this organization be looked upon not as a social club, ladies and gentlemen, or solely as a fundraising organization that has a great time partying, but one that is very much involved in the total life of the ward and her people. In the book of Nehemiah, the prophet heard the cries of the people, a cry that came from their experiences, their despair, their disappointment in their leadership. Far too long, the people suffered and did not reach their full potential because of discord, disunity, and disrespect. I would argue that some of the same exists here in Ward 8. If you are in fact supporting me and my leadership, then I ask for you to support me right down the slate. I have searched high and low, from Anacostia to Washington Highlands, in search of the right people to stand beside me as I set out to move the Ward 8 Democrats forward.